Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. So continuing, this is part number 7 of the Mesillas Yesharim from the Ramchal, Meshamayim Lomdim Mussar, also called Way of the Upright or Path of the Just. And this is the Art Scroll version, and I will have a link below to them. So just one note, next Motzei Shabbos, when is normally when I post these videos, I record them before, is going to be the second night of the Seder of Pesach, Passover, in what we say Chutz La'aretz, in the diaspora or in the United States. So I will not be posting another video that Motzei Shabbos. So there's going to be a week skipped. So this will be the last video before Pesach. So I want to wish everyone Chag Pesach Kasher V'Sameach. And so then that'll be continued BeEzrat Hashem the week after, once Pesach is ending. So continuing on from where I left off in this Sefer, is we're talking about, just to kind of go over it, was about the different about piety and about kind of the different, let's see, what do they call them? Different components that make the perfect service for pleasing Hashem. So there were 5 different components. So now I'm going to go into them a little bit more in detail. He defines them. So the Ramchal defines each of these 5 components, demonstrating that they are not simple matters, but rather matters that necessitate study and practice. So that's what's important, is that they have to be studied and practiced, both of them. So the Ramchal begins first with the fear of Hashem. So I'm going to go through each one of these. And then I think once I stop, we will be almost finished with the introduction, BeEzrat Hashem. Probably the next time we'll finally be able to, after the next time, get into the first actual chapter. So what he says here about fear of Hashem. The fear of Hashem refers to having reverence for his exaltedness, blessed be he. And he is capitalized because it's talking about Hashem. So the footnote here is that the Ramchal stresses that the fear of Hashem that is demanded of us here is a sense of awe and reverence for his greatness and majesty, as opposed to merely fear of punishment for sins. Thus, the greater and wiser the tzaddik, which is the righteous person, the more he feels this higher level of fear. So the more, I guess, that you're learned and aware of this, because the tzaddik is more aware of that, he more has this higher level. So it's not just fear of like, oh, punishment because I sinned. It's more of like the majesty and the awe is like, wow, you look how awesome, so to speak, is Hashem, because look at us and look at what he's created and look at who we are. So that's the difference. Then he goes on and says that it's meaning that one should fear as he would fear a great and awesome king. Lahavdil, again, Hashem is the king of all kings, so it's like just to get the frame of reference. And one should feel humbled by his greatness with every moment that he makes. Movement, sorry, I said moment, sorry, with every movement. Missed a few letters there. So with every movement that he makes. So the footnote here says in Sefer Vikuach, chapter 2, the Ramchal notes that surely this is a very lofty level, which is difficult to attain due to our physicality. However, he advises that attaining fear of Hashem, i.e. an awareness of Hashem's awe-inspiring presence, to any degree is praiseworthy. See also the Ramah, the beginning of Shulchan Aruch or Chaim, and in chapter 19, which BeEzrat Hashem will get to at some point, hopefully, Ramchal elaborates on fear of Hashem and sets down the guidelines of how one can cultivate it within himself. So this is giving you a little like taste of what that's going to be, but it's going to be more in detail. And also chapter 24 develops this subject even further. So it helps to get the kind of the general idea, and then it'll be expounded more. So he's saying here that because of our physicality, it's hard to achieve that level. I guess that's an impediment to us. But any amount of it is praiseworthy, of how we fear Hashem. And then going on, it says, and certainly when speaking before him in prayer, or when engaged in studying his Torah. So those are times when we should definitely realize the awe of Hashem, like we're standing in front of the King of all kings and praying and studying Torah, and like, wow. Okay, so that's the first component. So the next one he's talked about is walking in Hashem's way. So the first one is fear, which is, we say yira, and then hahalicha b'drachav is walking in his ways. So it says here that walking in Hashem's ways encompasses the entire matter of refining of character traits and their improvement. And then this is what the sages of Blessed Mary explained. And then it says, see Sifri to the verse. We're not going to see that, but that's just what it says. That the phrase to go in all his ways means just as Hashem is compassionate, so too should you be compassionate, etc. Meaning you're emulating him. Like Hashem is kind, you should be kind. Hashem is this, you should be the same. And then the footnote here says, that's Tziel Shabbos 113b. These are all just different references. So to 14a, Rambam Sefer HaMitzvot Asay 8, Sefer HaChinuch Mitzvah 6:11. So then it says, compassionate is the first of the 13 attributes of mercy, with which Hashem governs the world. And then see Shemos 34:6-7, it goes through the 13 attributes. And then Rav Moshe Corovero's work, Tomer Devora, is devoted entirely to explaining how one can emulate Hashem through the application of the 13 attributes. So that might be something you want to look into. Continuing on, it says, the general rule of this is that a person should guide all of his character traits and all of his various actions based on integrity and ethical principles. Footnote here in Sefer Vikuach, the Ramchal adds he shall acquire good traits such as humility, compassion, and generosity, and distance from himself bad traits such as haughtiness, cruelty, and miserliness. So that would be the opposite of the good, things that you wouldn't want to emulate. The Ramchal discusses modifications and rectification of negative character traits in the latter part of chapter 11. So again, that's something to look forward to, BeEzrat Hashem, that he'll go into this more in detail. Continuing on, our sages of blessed memory established a general rule to determine whether a trait is desirable or not in the following Mishnah, which is from Avos 2:1. So the person should adopt any path that is intrinsically praiseworthy for the one who practices it, and also earns him praise from other people. So something that's going to get you praise, that's something that you'd want to do because then other people are going to give you praise for. Like you did something like, wow, look what he did, you know. So it's then, because once someone sees that about you, I'm just adding this myself. They're like, wow, I want to be like that. How do I do that? And then you see how that person acts a certain way and they want to emulate it. So in other words, any character trait or action that leads to the ultimate beneficence, meaning that its outcome will be the strengthening of Torah observance and the advancement of friendship among communities. So the footnote here says that a person's character trait should lead him to actions that enhance both man's relationship to Hashem, and then it says praiseworthy for the one who practices it, and man's interpersonal relationships that earn him praise from other people. So meaning you want to do both from that it enhances the relationship with Hashem and also between you and other people. Okay, then, so that's the end of the walking in Hashem's ways. It gives you a little bit frame of reference. Next is loving Hashem, which is Ahava. So this one says that the love of Hashem means that the love for Hashem, blessed be He, should be so ingrained in the heart of a person that he's inspired to please Him, just as a person's heart is inspired to please his father and mother. Meaning that's what it should be so instilled in you that that's what you want. And then the footnote here says, one's love for a parent is natural, not dependent upon anything. Love for Hashem must also be natural and unconditional love, as the Ramchal states below in chapter 19. Although there are kinds of love that are more intense than love for a parent, the hallmark of love for a parent is the desire to please, and it is this aspect that he stresses here. So meaning you want to please Hashem. You know, not that He needs anything from us, but we still desire to do that. Later in chapter 19, he compares intensity of love that a person must have for Hashem to the intensity of the love that a parent has for an only child and the love that a husband has for the wife of his youth. To me, that's something you can't, explain. Like when a parent has it, it's just instilled in them. Okay, then moving on, it says here, he will be pained if he or others fail to do this and will be zealous with regard to any neglect displayed in this regard. So meaning it's going to pain him that if he doesn't do this, like it will really bother him. And that's why he's going to be so zealous. Kanai is the word that you use, if there's any neglect. And he will be elated when he does something to the end, meaning it's going to bring him so much joy. Anything that pleases Hashem. So the footnote here says, here Ramchal alludes to two of the three components of love of Hashem that he discussed in chapter 19. Desire to perform His will is one, and zealousness regarding any neglect displayed by others in doing so. Meaning that, you desire to do it and you're zealous if you see someone that's neglecting to do this. So the third is called Vekas, which is cleaving to Hashem, to the point where one is preoccupied with his relationship with Hashem to the exclusion of all else, meaning nothing else exists but Hashem. So you're so connected. It's like glue. It's like super crazy glue. It's like there's nothing else that matters. So the components of this love will be discussed in chapter 19, and the contemplations that lead to it will be discussed there and in chapter 21. So Ramchal again is going to expound on this a lot more. The next one is called Completeness of Heart, and what does that mean? Shleimus Halev. So this completeness of heart means that the service before Hashem, blessed be He, should be performed with pure motives. That is for the sole purpose of serving Hashem and not for any other motive. Meaning you only do it, like we say, l'shem shamayim. I've heard Rabbi Victor Miller's Zatzal say that in something I'm listening to, a CD, that just say everything you do is l'shem shamayim. And then it's pure, meaning you're sleeping, you're eating, you're working, everything you say, this is l'shem shamayim, this is l'shem shamayim, and it changes the aspect of it for you. So the footnote here says this just refers to the trait of tahara, which is discussed in chapter 16 and 17. Again, we'll get to that, BeEzrat Hashem, eventually. Moving on, it says, also included in completeness of the heart is that one should be wholehearted in his service of Hashem. It's with the lev shalem. That's what the shlemus is, the wholeheartedness. Not like one who dances between two opinions. Footnote says here, see Malachim Aleph 18:21. In other words, he is irresolute, at times inspired to serve Hashem, but lacking the willpower to stay committed to it. He vacillates between service of Hashem and other goals and aspirations. So meaning, you shouldn't be between two worlds, like, you want to serve Hashem, but you want to do these other things. So meaning, you don't want to kind of be back and forth like a seesaw, okay? And then moving on, or as one who performs the service by rote, but his heart is elsewhere. So meaning you just, like you're I think I mentioned this earlier, like you're davening. Like I've started doing this, so it's much better. It's like using your finger and pointing at each word, so it slows you down, also makes you focus, and also you're kind of understanding what you're saying and you're paying attention. So you don't want to do it by rote, because then that's not completeness of the heart. Rather, one's heart should be entirely devoted to it. And then the final component, and I think I'm going to stop here so it doesn't go too long. And then BeEzrat Hashem finish it in a couple weeks, finish at least the introduction. So what is this final component? Mitzvah observance, which means, that's the Shmiras Kol HaMitzvot. Observance of all the commandments means exactly as the words imply. That is, observance of the entire body of mitzvot, with all their details and requirements. Footnote here says, this very fundamental component, specifically the means to effectively fulfill it, is discussed in chapters 2 through 12, which cover the traits of zehirus, which means vigilance from misdeeds, zerizus, which is alacrity and diligence in performing good deeds, and nikias, cleanliness from even a trace of sin. And in Seder Vikuach chapter 1, Ramchal proves his earlier point about attaching primacy to studying matters relating to perfect service of Hashem by noting that 4 of the 5 components in the above quoted verse, which is from the Devarim 10:12, refers to this particular effort, whereas only 1 refers to general compliance with the mitzvot of the Torah. So meaning there's all these different components, and it is, you want to make sure that your observance is included with all this, the cleanliness, the diligence, the alacrity. So it's got a lot of different parts. So even though I said in the first maybe video of this series that he says, oh, this is something we already know, but it really isn't. Like he had such a way. I mean, he had a gift. I mean, he learned with angels. People thought he was not all there, but he didn't understand what kind of a level he was. That he has such a beautiful way of breaking it down into smaller little steps that you get it, and it does sound like you already. Like, yeah, of course I know this already, but you don't, meaning he has just a way. It's hard to explain. Like, he was given a gift, from Meshamayim to be able to do this and to write such a thing. So I'm going to stop here. So this gives you some more food for thought. And again, I highly recommend getting this Sefer too, so you can go through it yourself, because there's so much here and there's so much to learn and to keep relearning over and over. And I hope and pray that we will all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.